it's almost May, and for some of us, garden season has already approached. And for the rest of you, garden season is right around the corner. It's starting to be nice enough outside so we can start amending and turning our soil if need be. Some of us have already started quite a bit of plants inside or in our hoop houses. Like for instance me, I have carrots, kohlrabi, and peas growing in my greenhouse right now. And I have my strawberries out in the gutter grow system. But anyways, I just want to go over some of the fertilizers that we use. Last year, I was doing hydroponics, and I was just doing hydroponics last year and the year before because I wanted to understand it a little bit more, because my goal is eventually to use aquaponics. And I know it's a little bit different, but it's around the same realm. But last year I used general hydroponics. It was the dry mix. It was a real great fertilizer. It was a 10-5-14, and my plants grew really, really well. They grew fast, but what I noticed was my wife's plants grew just as fast, but her fruits tasted much better. So I stopped the hydroponics as I was planning on doing, and I've now switched to almost all organic, or either all organic or all natural. And this is what we use. We use a mix of hollytone, bone meal, and blood meal. That's the main mix. All right. Some folks will add more calcium than others. Some will add magnesium into the soil prior to planting your vegetables. And I don't like to do that. I don't like to add too much because our soil is pretty fertile. So we just start with pretty much the basics. Now you can go out and you can buy all of this put together, and it'll be a little expensive. Or what we like to do is we like to buy them individually, so that way we can individually do our ratios, so we can change our nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium mixtures. So the main base, I don't really want to say the main base because they're equal parts, is the hollytone. And the reason that we use hollytone over garden tone is hollytone is meant for acidic plants. For instance, azaleas and rhododendrons. And most of our plants are acid-loving plants. So we grab hollytone because hollytone has sulfur in it. This hollytone has 5% sulfur, so we know it's going to keep the acidity of the soil down closer to where we want it to be, and then that way we can slowly adjust it as needed. So what we do is we take equal parts of this. This mixture is a 4-3-4, so it's 4 nitrogen, 3 phos, and 4 potassium or potash. The other ingredient, or the other parts of them, or the other chemicals in, or not chemicals, but nutrients in here are 3% calcium, and you have 1% magnesium, and then of course I told you the 5% sulfur. Now I'll tell you that this is derived from, you have your hydrolyzed feather meal, pasteurized poultry manure, bone meal, alfalfa meal, green sand, humates, sulfate of potash, potash, magnesia, and then your regular old sulfur. What you've noticed about all of these items that they're derived from is these are all natural ingredients. And that's the main reason why I have switched to organic, and my wife has mostly always done organic, is because over time these synthesized chemicals will build up in your soil, making them too either alkaline or acidic or just too salty. Okay, you know, all these electrolytes are essentially salts. So when they break down, your salt will become essentially too toxic. And what you have to do is keep amending and amending and amending your soil to help water that down a little bit. With us, we haven't added any dirt to our beds in the last 2.5 to 3 years. All we've added were pine shavings from the chicken coops. That's it. We haven't needed to change any acidity, do any heavy adjustments, because my wife uses organic fertilizers. So we use the Hollytone. The Hollytone has a nice amount of calcium. Next is the blood meal. Blood meal is your nitrogen source. If you want to have a liquid nitrogen, you can use fish emulsion. You have to watch, some of fish emulsions are not organic. Some are organic based, but they don't have all organic in them. So it depends on what you want. But this is a great amount of nitrogen. This has 12, level 12 of nitrogen. So your count is 1200. So you don't have any potassium, you don't have any phosphorus. So we take a little bit of that and add it in here. And then we also take bone meal. Now, bone meal is a really good addition to the garden. My mom always used bone, and she always used blood meal. They both helped keep rabbits out, which were nice. And it did help a little bit last year. You could tell the garden beds that my wife didn't put a bone and blood meal in because we did have rabbits in those beds. But this bone meal, this has 2 nitrogen, 14 phos, but no potassium, which is okay because we will supplement the potassium with my compost tea that I'll be making in the summertime. But the one thing I want to show you is for you folks out there who are trying to avoid blossom end rot. I don't know if I can zoom in on that, but I might be able to. Maybe too much of a glare. But anyways, the potassium or the calcium is 15%. That's quite a bit. So your tomatoes are really going to love the bone meal. So if you're having problems with blossom end rot, or you're afraid of having problems with blossom end rot, grab yourself some bone meal. Now, we're not really preferential to really any kind of brands. We mostly go with what we can afford. But the two that we mostly go with is Espona and Job's. And they work very well. This bag, it's a 36-pound bag. We were able to get it at the local garden shop with a coupon for $24. And yeah, it is a little more pricey than your Miracle-Gro. You know, this Maxi-Gro, this was $11, and this makes, I can't remember how many gallons this makes, but to give you an idea, only 1 to 2 teaspoons of this per gallon of water. And it would last you quite a long time. Only problem is when you look into hydroponics and things like that, they tell you to not dump these chemicals down a open water source or the same spot every time because it will kill the grass or will kill the other plants. So that's kind of what I'm getting at in terms of when you keep just adding synthetic fertilizers to the soil over and over and over again, on top of adding pesticides. If you do add pesticides to the soil, you really are messing up the health of the garden beds. So I hope this was formative for you. Just to let you know that when we're done mixing this together in equal parts, it's going to end up being 18-17-4. So that's a pretty darn good extended release fertilizer for the garden. And my wife also puts in a little bit of azomite, and I'm going to probably put a little bit of azomite in, but I'm not exactly sure how much I want to put in. So we're going to see this year, we're going to have a little bit of a comparison. We have 3 different methods of growing our plants. We have traditional raised garden beds that are, some of them are going to be mulched in. We know how well the mulching in works because the mulched beds last year only needed to be watered probably twice a month. I think twice a month is the max that they were. We have the rain gutter grow system, which you've seen in my greenhouse and in the main garden bed. And then we also have the bucket system that is just plumbed into a big 275-gallon tank tote that's hooked up to the gutters on my barn. And we'll just see which one works the best. And I have a feeling that we're going to have a ton of produce this year. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it informative, hit the thumbs up button. If you have any questions, please leave a question down in the comments box. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, hit subscribe. All right, take it easy.